Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. We caught up earlier today with Craig Parry, CEO of IsoEnergy, TSX-V listed uranium explorer in the Athabasca Basin. And if you want our thoughts and opinions on the conversation, their plans and the company itself, you can get that at cruxinvestor.com/club, where you can also find detailed company reports. There's commentary from experts from around the world on a variety of commodities and companies. There are training videos. There are summaries of other interviews that we've done just to save you a bit of time. And of course, there's a thriving community of investors sharing their thoughts and ideas with each other in a nice, safe environment. So do go and join them at cruxinvestor.com/club. And of course, we'd love your feedback too. So do give us a like, leave your comments below. And if you want to see what we talked about, take a look in the description. Craig, how you doing, sir?
Good, Matt. How are you?
I bet you're good. Nice result this week. Are you doing victory laps? Are you just taking a moment off from doing victory laps? Is that what's happening?
This is the first of them. This is my interview with the Michael Parkinson of the mining world.
Right. The Michael Parkinson. That's good. That's a new one, but I'll take it.
With a bit of Piers Morgan thrown in for good measure there.
That's more on brand. That's more on brand. Right, I'm now going to give you a hard time because of that. Okay. Well, look, but before I do, I better kick off. Ask that 1 minute overview, and then we'll pick it up.
Yeah, good stuff. So, of course, we had a winter drill campaign this year, and then we kicked off our summer campaign, and that was the most significant that we've had in the history of the company. Fantastic results. We've delivered some of the most spectacular drill results in any commodity in the past 12 months. And indeed, in uranium in the last 5 years, we put out a drill hole only this week, truly spectacular, 7.5 meters at nearly 40% U3O8. That included 3.5 meters at 74% U3O8. So we're thrilled with those results, but that drill program has doubled the size of the footprint of the deposit, if you like. So, we knew we had something big and high grade on our hands. Now we've got something that's really very big and very high grade on our hands. So we're thrilled with those results. We're well funded, of course. We did that deal with Queen's Road Capital. I saw your interview last week with Warren Gilman from Queen's Road. That was sensational. You can see Warren's brilliance shining through there. And part of that brilliance was to put money into IsoEnergy at about 69 cents. So he's doing very well.
If you do say so yourself. Well, I think the point of the job program was to increase the size of the deposit. The grades have been an absolute bonus for you. And just to give people an idea of the types of grades that you've been hitting there, it's kind of Marie Curie type level of grades. It's not safe to be around for too long. So how have you guys been coping in the drill shed, the logging shed?
No, that is one of the challenges we have. Nice challenge to have. Of course, the other thing has been COVID and putting protocols in place so that we don't, take any COVID infection to northern Saskatchewan, which we've managed to do successfully. The team's done a tremendous job there. But certainly managing, that high grade material in the hot core shack is an issue. The guys can't be around it for too long or they dose out. But anyway, that's being managed. But those great. To give you a bit of an indication for, to stick that in gold equivalent terms, I don't think IROC and the regulators like you doing this, Matt, but that's $40,000 a tonne dirt or rock, and 22 ounces per tonne in gold equivalent terms, or about 700 grams per tonne. So, truly spectacular grades, and we couldn't be more thrilled with those results.
Right. Okay. Here's the Piers Morgan bit. It's done nothing for your share price, though. Why do you think people haven't reacted to grades like that?
That was a little bit flat this week, even off the back of that last drill result. I suspect what's happening because, of course, back in March we were trading around 30 cents, I think.
23.
23 was it? That low? Yeah, well, there you go. So we're now at about $1.40 or thereabouts. So, performance has been stellar. I think we're actually the best sort of serious uranium company in terms of performance for the past couple of years. So, people are getting it and getting the value proposition. Of course, we saw Hayward launch coverage on us. Colin Healy's got a $2 price target on us. So we've seen, over the last 6 months off the back of that program, improvement in share price. I would say that these results, the fact that we didn't get much of a kick here the other day when we put out those results, points, probably coming from the fact that investors are starting to understand these scintillometer results when we put them out. So perhaps that was already priced in back off the back of the scintillometer results.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. So let's look at going forward. You've taken some flow through money, about $4 million. You've got about $4 million of warrants coming through. I assume all in the money. That puts you at how much cash today, or will it put you?
So we've got about 11.8 million as we speak. So we go into the new year with effectively 20 million in cash, assuming those warrants get exercised. Those warrants are all at 60 cents, so we're well in the money on those. So I'd expect those to be exercised during the year.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about what the future needs. I think we all agree you're fully priced. It's been a great year for your shareholders and anyone invested in the company, but you're at or near where you should be. Okay. So with $20 million, what do you do? Because you've doubled the size of the deposit. You've got some great grades. Is it more drilling, or will you be able next year to start planning for the future? In which case, what does that business plan look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we're really still at, part of the project is still at an exploration stage, of course. We're, moving into that resource delineation phase. And, the surprising thing of the results that we put out earlier this week is that it confirms that southern margin of the deposit is still open. So, we've still got more drilling to do there to better define that southern margin to the deposit. So we've got to do that. That'll be one of the key components of this coming winter program, which will kick off in January. The other component will be some infill drilling to better test the ore body, delineate that ore body, give more confidence around a resource when we finally put one out. I don't know when that will be, probably late next year or early the following year, just depending on what we see there. And then, the third component of that program, I suppose what we've done now is confirm that this Larocque conductive trend that starts 20 kilometres to the southwest of us, where you find Cameco's Larocque Lake Zone, then up through there, Larocque North, into our deposit at Hurricane. And then there's mineralised intercepts out on our project to the east that have never been followed up. So we want to get out and test those as well. And we now know that conductive trend is very fertile for large high-grade deposits. So lots of high-impact targets out there to test as well.
But which is great, and you do need to do all of the above, but you also need to start thinking about where do you sit in the mix? Because there's lots of uranium juniors jockeying for position. Okay, the producers are the producers. The guys in care and maintenance are, trying to work out how they time things. And then there's a raft of people coming through. I mean, you guys did a deal with 92 Energy, and we get approached weekly, for people, looking for investment from us on projects which we know are the kind of leftovers from companies who've done work, right? So how do you, it's more interested in you, not these newbies, wannabes. How do you start positioning yourself in terms of which cycle you're aiming for, how you start monetizing this, not just for shareholders, but in terms of getting into some kind of cash flow position? Who do you need to partner with? There's a few mills near you. You've got people like Orano running out of feedstock. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. So what's the discussion at board level about how you position yourselves to win?
Yeah, very, very good question. Look, I suppose, to answer you at this point in time, we're still at that earliest of stage. We're doing ore body knowledge type drilling at the moment, and certainly that's the first half of next year and probably the second half of next year based on the fact that we still haven't closed off the deposit yet. So we've got to do that work, and we'll know where we stand by the back end of next year. We have taken some tentative first steps to looking at how we might develop the project moving forward. We're not there yet. We brought Peter Longo on board. Peter, of course, going back to your point about we're fully priced at the moment, I think think we've got a deposit that's every bit as good as Denison's Phoenix, for example. And, they've got a $350 million market cap versus our 130 to 150 million market cap. So I think, we can still double from here pretty readily off the back of the results we'll get come the winter program. But that, getting a bit off topic there, we have, so we brought Peter Longo on board. Peter conceptualised that in situ leach mining technique for Denison for their Phoenix deposit. Pete's one of the most innovative engineers that I've ever come across, and I think the leader in his field in terms of development of uranium projects. So we've got Peter looking at those sort of mining opportunities and scenarios at the earliest of stages. And then you make a very good point about Orano. Of course, we're 40 kilometres away from Orano's mill. That mill is currently underfed. Effectively on care and maintenance at the moment because of COVID, but significantly underfed when Cigar Lake starts back up. And we think, the likelihood of Cameco extending Cigar Lake production beyond 2028, 29, pretty damn slim. So, they're going to, and of course that mill is a point source for, a large part of France's nuclear power supply. So, or the product for that supply. So very important for Orano to keep that mill going. And we think we can sit front and centre in that theme of providing mill feed for that mill. So we'd like to do that. The other thing to note on a sort of strategic aspect there is that our deposit being at only 320 metres, being an flat-lying unconformity associated deposit. A lot of people don't realise this, but Orano has some proprietary technology called SABRE, which is Surface Access Borehole Resource Extraction, is the acronym there. And that's basically a drill extraction technique where they drill a pilot hole down and then ream out a large area of this high-grade mineralisation over a sort of 4 to 8 metre diameter and then extract it back up through the hole. So our deposit appears to be very much amenable to that. So there's a strategic element there. We talk to Orano and all the time, and they're friends of ours. We know that we think that our deposit is very much amenable to that. Deeper deposits aren't. We're getting, below 400 metres. That technique doesn't appear to work. So, we're uniquely positioned to supply a couple of key things to, one of the nuclear energy majors.
Okay, so you're friends of theirs. You talk all the time, and your asset currently, as it stands, seems to suit some of the technology which they have in place, and there's a need. When do you start firming up on things like that? I mean, where's that conversation go? Because they're carrying maintenance in a lot of places around the world at the moment. They've the end of life projects all around the world at the moment. So, do you become very, very important to them at some point, or is it just regular, standard commercial milling type of relationship?
Yeah, good question. I think there aren't a lot of other deposits around there that will be developed in the next cycle. I think our deposit has a chance of being absolutely one of the significant deposits developed in the next cycle. We talk to all of the guys. Saskatchewan's a fairly small province, and you bump into them at the pub. Although we haven't in recent times because of COVID lockdown and things. But, so we're talking to everyone there all the time. But, we think we've got our deposit has traits that would, suit their requirements very well. Potentially Cameco as well. But, and Matt, that's an important point. We, of course, always, any company I've ever started, we take the view that we're going to develop the project ourselves. Not having to build a mill, massive advantage, of course, both on a permitting and a cost basis. So being close to that McLean Lake mill and knowing it's underfed is really the crucial point there.
Okay, and just talking about Athabasca Basin, uranium juniors, permitting and licensing is always thrown at you guys. It's always thrown at you. But there are lots of different types of permits and licenses. So what are the permits, the long poles in the tent, as it were, when it comes to trying to develop a uranium asset? The NexGen guys have got their travails to deal with. Denison have got theirs. You talk to any of the juniors, and they're always trying to overcome a permitting issue. So if there was a relationship with Uranium, if you had access to the mill, what are the sorts of permits then that you would then be required to get in place to extract this quite high-grade uranium?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, with any mining project, your primary permit is that mining license. And then you need all of the typical construction permits and the like that go with that, land use agreements as well. And dealing with the First Nations groups there, that's crucial, of course. And then finally you need the standard Canadian nuclear permits, development permits. So for us, we're starting to look at that. The first steps on that path for us are starting to take environmental baseline data and surveying that side of things. And then, of course, community engagement is going to be critical. We've been doing that since we set foot on the ground, of course. So, we're down that path to some extent, but we're still a long way off knowing what we're going to permit. So we've got to find out what that ore body looks like and how we're going to develop it before we set off fully on that path. And I think we're probably at least 12 months away from that.
Okay. And again, I'm just trying to build a picture of, when again, looking at all the uranium companies that we've spoken to and analysed, they've got different sets of technical issues. That it's the technical issues around the ore bodies and environmental, which seem to be, again, these long poles in the tent here. Is there anything that you're seeing that you think is unique about your body? I mean, it's shallow, it's great, but what are the advantages to the ore body that you've got, do you believe?
Yeah, of course. Okay, and that's a really very good question, because if you had your druthers, you'd want a basement-hosted arrow type deposit because it's amenable to conventional underground mining, and that's that positions NexGen rather uniquely, and particularly the scale and grade of that deposit. The advantages we have where we are, of course, being close to that mill, crucial. We're surrounded by all the infrastructure and human resources that you would need to build a project. So being out in that eastern side of the basin is fantastic for those elements. The shallow nature, the flat-lying nature, we're looking at, of course, Denison's looking at this in situ leach technology. We're looking at other opportunities. There have been a couple of development opportunities that Peter's identified that highly innovative and look like they will be low capex, low opex type development opportunities as well. We don't want to get into that just now, but I'll leave you with this thought: is that that Urano Sabre technology, given the very high grade nature, such a dense accumulation of rock. These deposits, of course, are the densest accumulation of dollar value in terms of rock on the planet, perhaps apart from the odd sort of big diamond deposit like Uranium. So, very dense accumulation of dollar value. And so extracting that, there are ways of doing it very cheaply, and that Sabre technology looks, very good for that approach. We will know soon where we stand in terms of an internal resource base. We're probably, because we still haven't defined the margins of the deposit at the moment, we're some way off announcing it publicly an initial maiden resource. But what we do know is it's going to be very, very high grade. That drill hole yesterday is testament to that. So I suppose very high grade, and that's the great thing about these deposits. The other thing about our deposit, of course, is it's not under a body of water. We've seen other companies with projects that are challenged by that sort of aspect. So we're in really good shape on this deposit to develop it actually with low capital cost and having a low operating cost.
Okay, so two things you mentioned there, just stay on the technology, but Sabre I get, Iran have been using it, well established, you could almost call it conventional in a way. Innovative, when someone uses the word innovative, I and imagine people that are showing permits would get a bit nervous unless it's in the confines of what is already used and known elsewhere. So what sort of thing that you're talking about when you use that word?
Well, Sabre actually isn't being used at the moment. They've done some trials with it, and it looks to work very well. You need a high grade deposit, and that's the best thing to point to. That approach to mining. We do. We are looking at other approaches. I think in situ leaching of high grade Athabasca deposits is an opportunity, and we will look at that in more detail, of course. But more conventional approaches, as you say, like that borehole extraction type technology, that's where you would go, because of course that has a huge number of advantages to other techniques.
Okay, so I misunderstood. I thought Sabre, they were testing in Canada. Have they used Sabre elsewhere and seen it work?
Tested in Canada, I believe, but it's not in operation.
Okay, sorry, right. Okay, fine. So let's talk about sort of next steps for you. I mean, you've obviously got this money. You've outlined exploration. You may be a resource end of next year, beginning of 2022. You've talked about the Laroque trend, but what are you going to talk to the market about that's going to get them excited in a way that a 72% UA 308 announcement didn't? What do you think people should be listening out for?
Sure. No, look, I think, very straightforward for the next little while. Certainly the first half of next year, we'll continue drilling. As I say, we've got high impact exploration targets out to the east. We've got to prove up or test the southern margin of Hurricane as it is, and the really sort of exciting stuff will come from some of that infill drilling as we go, because we'll almost certainly be delivering a slew of really high grade results through the first half of next year as we do some of that infill drilling and further better define the resource.
So what are you saying to current investors? Just be patient. It's been a great year, but be patient. We've got a steady process to work our way through, and towards the end of next year, we'll be in a position to make some decisions about how we advance this thing. Is that it?
Exactly. And of course, hopefully we have some external factors weighing in our favour as well. It's about
my goodness.
time.
Have I got an exclusive? What is it?
Well, no. You haven't. No, I think actually I've given up trying to predict the uranium price and where things might head. I know it's cheap at the moment, and at some point it will go up. That's all I can say. I've been spectacularly wrong for the past 5 or 6 years, or 8 years actually. But you can't have that much product taken out of the market, but that many cutbacks in production before you see something happen. Who knows when? You will have you talk to Brandon Munro and others, so you'll have a much better idea than me, Matt.
We speak every week to multiple people about uranium. I'm not sure anyone's really got a clue, so you're in good company. Just very quickly, this happened after we last spoke, because we spoke beginning mid-September or something. You did the 92 Energy deal, the bunch of Aussie guys, I think, known to you, and I just wondered why. What were the terms of that deal? Why did you do it? Wasn't it a distraction?
Yeah, so it's sort of worth going back to our thesis while we're in the Eastern Athabasca, and of course, I harp on all the time about the sort of what I learnt at Rio Tinto about how you look at exploration projects, and of course that size of the prize, cost of the test, chance of success. Eastern Athabasca, we know the size of the prize is good, it's cheap to operate, and the chance of success is massive. We've proven that ourselves. I think we discovered a hurricane after 14 drill holes in the basin. So obvious place to operate. Of course, the other thing the strings to our strategy are drill under the unconformity and try and find basement hosted deposits. And we think there'll probably be an arrow or two out on that eastern half of the Athabasca to be found. And then the other thing, of course, is that all that drilling that was done around 2010, 11, intersected mineralisation that never got followed up, and Hurricane comes off the back of that work. What we did, what's that strategy or those strategic elements has resulted in is us putting our foot on a vast area of ground out in the Eastern Athabasca. best place in the world to pick up ground and explore for high-grade deposits. But some of these projects we're not going to get to explore in the next 10 years. We've got such a big area now and so many targets to work through. We can't do it all ourselves. So farming those projects out or divesting them for stock and getting someone else to do that exploration work for us, we'll advise them and help them a little bit. We've got a team that's very, very good at exploring for uranium, so they can rely on us for that. But farming it out and getting those other targets that are a lower priority for us tested is important. 92 Energy, very good team. They've got a brilliant team of very well respected uranium explorers. Great to be working with those guys. The other thing interesting about 92 Energy is that it will be the first ASX listed Athabasca focused uranium explorer. So I'm very keen to see how that gets accepted in the Aussie market. I think it'll go very, very well.
They've all had a great week this week. All the Aussie uranium guys, all up.
Yeah, a bit better than us over here for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think the brokers have finally twigged. They're coming back into the uranium space. There's lots of conversations, certainly around Perth. There's conversations we're hearing anyway. We looked at 6 Aussie companies this morning, all up. Good for them. Well done.
Yeah, right. Good. Very, very good to hear. Look, the other thing, of course, we divested our Mountain Lake project to Phil Williams, International Consolidated Uranium. We sold that for a mixture of cash and stock. Phil's got a fantastic company there. He's doing something of a roll-up of uranium projects globally. And that project, we staked it and we've effectively sold that for $1 million. It cost us $30,000 to stake it 2 years. We sold it 2 years ago. We've sold those £8 million for about for $1 million or more. We've got stock in the company and exposure to the upside there. So, that will eventually give us a sort of low dilution route to financing at some point in time when either International Consolidated gets taken out or perhaps we can sell a bit of stock, but although that's not the plan at the moment. That strategy is playing out very well for us.
Yeah, okay. And will there be more of these? Have you got so much additional land?
If we get if we can find the right partners, the right people who we know are serious players who will do the right thing by the projects and explore the ground well, yep, absolutely.
I hope you're being a good fund manager about this, or investment banker, just a few good bits, a few not so good bits, and a bit of rubbish thrown in there. Just blend it. Is that how it works?
Good question. Look, I wouldn't say that because it's out in the eastern Athabasca. The chance of success out there is extraordinary, as we've proven. There will be many more high grade uranium deposits found out there. So getting someone else to do that work for us, I think, makes great sense.
Okay, well, Craig, brilliant. Good to speak to you, mate. And nice sort of end of year catch up. Fantastic. Been a stonker of a year for you guys. Keep up the good work. Keep in touch. Let us know how you're getting on. Okay.
Yeah, will do, Matt. No, always a pleasure, and thank you very much for your support and having us on during the year, and have a great and safe Christmas.